Hello, programmers. I'd like to talk about our code reading strategy and problem solving strategy. Our code reading strategies are called TIP and C, and our problem solving strategy is called GACC. Now, these two strategies are related to previewing reading strategies that you might use in your elementary school classroom. So let's say we were going to read the book, The Most Magnificent Thing, to students in our class. We might do a few things before we actually read the book. We might learn a little bit about the story before we read it. To do that, we'd read the title, The Most Magnificent Thing. We'd look at pictures, first on the cover and then inside the book. Here we see a picture of a girl and her dog, and the girl is carrying or pulling a wagon full of a bunch of junk. So from that, we might ask students to make some predictions about what they think might happen in this story and what they think the girl is doing, what they think the dog's role might be. And then from that, we're interested in this case in activating some prior knowledge. What do the kids know about stories like this? Or what have they learned about stories that they think might help them in their predictions? And then also we're going to generate some interest in learning more. So these are all things we're doing before we even read the book. Now, if we're looking at a computer programming project, like here we have the All About Me project in Scratch, we're going to use something similar. Here we're going to do our code reading strategy, TIP and C, and this is a preview strategy before we even start looking at code and running the project. So TIP is a way of looking at title, instructions, purpose, and play. And then C is looking more deeply inside the program and actually looking at the code, and that's sprites, events, and explore. So this is a form of use, modify, create, a strategy that was developed earlier where students would run a program, use it, change things about the program to see how those things worked, and then take what they learned about working with a project like that and create one of their own. So first, let's look at TIP, the title, instructions, purpose, and play. And this is similar to previewing a book before we actually read the story. So we have our front page of our Scratch project. First, we look at the title, then we find the instructions, then we read about the purpose of this project, and then we click the green flag and we actually play it to see how it works. Now, once we're done with that, we want to look inside the project, and that's where we transition into maybe reading the story. We're going to look inside and see how it actually works, the nuts and bolts. And these would be like reading sentences of a story. So this involves the strategy C, and that stands for Sprites, Events, Explore. And this is a reading comprehension strategy for code that creates a roadmap for students to follow. And here it's specifically for Scratch. So first we look at the sprites, and those are in the lower right-hand corner. I'm going to move my screen up here, my face up here to the top. The sprites are over in the right-hand corner. Then we look at the events, and the events are these rounded top blocks that cause things to happen in the code. So clicking the green flag causes this block of code to activate or to run. Clicking on a certain sprite makes this code block run underneath it. And then we're going to look at exploring the code, and that's all of the code in general, and that's like reading the entire story and trying to figure out how all this code works together to complete the project. Now, let's say part of our project doesn't work, part of the program doesn't work. We need a problem-solving strategy, and that's where GACC comes in. So that's you could think of that as the third leg to our three-legged stool here in understanding how code works. And this is a strategy for developing a solution code, the solution code to solving a problem in our project. And it stands for goal, algorithm, code, and then check. And here's an example of what a GACC worksheet looks like in one of our projects. Students use sentence frames to write out their goal for solving the problem in code. Then they use the sentence frames to fill out an algorithm, which are the instructions we give a computer to solve a problem. Here they're written in more of everyday language as opposed to computer science language, but it has some of the same computer science terms. And then finally, students will take the code blocks and drag them into the appropriate places where they think that code might work to solve the problem. And then they would put this into a Scratch project and then run the project to see if their ideas for these solution codes, these solution code blocks actually worked. And that's the check. So I hope this helps you understand the reading strategies that we use in understanding code and how they're similar to the reading strategies that you use to read stories from books in an elementary school classroom.